Welcome to The Profile. My name is Gary Dunn, and this week we have one special guest. Someone who goes before my time and can tell us a lot of really good stories. Jim Sheridan, welcome to The Profile.
Gary, thanks for having us. Great.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed the catering? And
perfect, beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, my producer just lays it all on, doesn't he?
Everything's here we want.
Yeah.
But I got to agree with you. I was before your time.
Absolutely.
I'm the oldest person you know around the place.
Mate, I'm so honoured to have you in here because I want to get an insight into what was going on in the 50s and the early 60s.
You're right, 50 was the start. 57 was our first gig.
Yeah. Wow. So where were you born, Jim?
St John of God, Subi, like a lot of the other guys I've seen you interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just a little cesspot for musicians.
I went from Subiaco to South Fremantle after I was born.
Yes.
I know the license plate number of the car I was in, 19099.
Wow.
Because my uncle still had it 15 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
An old rugby.
So you're a drummer?
Yep.
Any other instruments you play?
No, only the drums. It didn't start out that way for about a week, and it changed. We started was the high five, which was 5 people, and I was on the guitar because there was a guitar teacher in Fremantle back in '57.
Wow.
Called Harry Baker.
Yep.
A Dutch guy, was Harry Bakeris was his real name, Harry Baker, and he taught guitar. So Mum sent me there to do something to keep me occupied. And then Tony Tyler was in school with us. We're all in Christian Brothers Fremantle together. Yep. And then we met 3 older guys who worked at Woodson's in Fremantle. One was Jack Busher, who's Peter Busher's father, who you did interview.
Oh, unbelievable, because Peter talked about his father. And
I've got a couple of photos I've put with the guys here with Jack and us in the high five, so if we could pass them on to Peter, it'd be great.
Unreal.
And Tony and I was 14, Tony was 15. And our first gig was in December 1957 at the Fremantle Town Hall.
Wow.
And Tony always loved Elvis and wanted to sing Elvis. He said, "You can't play the guitar, you've got to play the drums." He said, "I'll play guitar because I want to be Elvis." So he took the guitar and I took the drums.
So it was easy for you just to drop the guitar, walk over and start playing.
Yeah, but the drums weren't the drums of those days. Yes. The drums were a washing board, a snare drum, a cymbal, and a couple of bongos. And our bass was a T-chest bass.
Our producer's playing that sort of kit these days.
Yeah. So that was the high five.
Wow. And
we had a really, really good run from 1957 until 1963, and there was a few changes as we went through. Glenn Ingram came into the high five, who is a very, very good singer, as you'd know. And then a fantastic group came from Sydney, Ray Hoff and the Offbeats.
Is that Terry Walker?
And we saw this unbelievable guitarist, Terry Walker. And the boys from Sydney were so good. I think no one could believe how good this band was. Ray Hoff was a real professional, and he had the boys going well. But like musos, they all fought and busted this and that, and so we went, Terry, got him.
Yes.
You know? So he came into the high five with us, probably about 1960, 61, 62. Then 63, we're all going to England. By the time we got on the ship, there was only Tony and myself there.
Right.
The rest had girlfriends and this and that and not allowed to go, and you know. So that was the high five, 57 to 63, with Tony and me involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point in your life as a young child, obviously, that decided, I'm going to be a musician?
Nothing really, because except Mum saying you should learn an instrument, you know. That was start the guitar.
And then to keep you off the streets?
Yeah, keep me off the, definitely in Fremantle, you had to do something, because I'd left school at 14, as you did in those days. And Tony, he also left school, he was a year older than me, and he used to always be fiddling around and banging and crashing. And I said, well, you should play the drums. And I got the guitar. And then I met a couple of guys, Jack Busher, Peter's father.
Yep.
And these three of them worked together in Woodsons. One of them was a country and western guitarist, Len Gannon from England. Very, very good guitarist. And he sort of pulled us all together. And then after a couple of weeks, Tony wanted to go to the guitar. So that was a big change in my life, being with these three older guys who sort of brought us into a formalised group. Rehearse, dress properly, be a bit sort of controlled, which, at 14 it was what we probably needed.
Yeah. So what was the influence as far as musician goes? Was it Elvis in those days?
1,000,000% Elvis for Tony.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, his voice sounded like Elvis in those as he was younger.
Yeah.
And Jack Busher was like his son Peter's country and western. Jack was absolutely mad Johnny Cash.
Wow, that's where Pete got it from, isn't it?
Jack was real Johnny Cash. Terry McDevitt, who played the T-chest bass, absolute really good crooner. And Len Gannon did sort of country and western and skiffle. So it was semi-rock and roll, country and crooning. And that's how we developed along the line. And
so you actually crooned, played country and rock and roll in the same gig?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the whole way we came right through, the times and everything, because to earn money in Perth in those days, you'd be at a wedding one night, a ball the next night, a hotel the next night. So there was different places you had to do. We'd later on in life, we'd played at Government House with tuxedos on for the governor's ball sort of thing, so you had to do waltzes and barn dances, but the last 2 hours you go mental on the rock, which everyone wanted.
Yeah, everyone got up and danced.
Yeah.
So in 1963 when that finished? Or
no, 1963, Tony and I did get on the ship.
Yep.
The others all waved goodbye. It took a month to get to Italy, and so we played on the ship with the band that was there and did some just like half-hour spot and things. And we got to Italy, and on the ship we met a saxophone player from Sydney. He was Austrian, going back to Vienna, and he'd been the sax player for Johnny O'Keefe in Sydney.
Wow.
So we got together, of course, on the boat and just fooled around. Then he said, come up to Vienna, because I just have to go across to Munich where they build Mercedes. He said, my uncle's a foreman there. I'm going to pick up a Mercedes and I'll meet you in Vienna. Here's my grandmother's address. We got there. He turned up 3 months later. So when you said no money, that was no money.
So you were in Vienna for 3 months?
Yeah, but I said, Tony, we're stuffed. We've got to get a quid. So we went to a nightclub that night and said, can we get up and do a song? And Tony was good. He was Elvis Presley, the same sound and the movements. So we got up, I grabbed the drums, he grabbed the guitar and the bass or whatever fitted in with us in the band. They put us on for the whole 3 months we were there.
Wow.
Yeah. And we still worked in the daytime. The war hadn't been over very long. Do you remember the war, do you? Second World War.
No, I don't.
But there was some blown out buildings, and you could get money cleaning and packing bricks.
Yeah.
We did that for a while.
Don't mention the war.
Yeah. And we worked at a place called the Prater, which is a big amusement park in the middle of Vienna.
Yeah.
It's got the biggest Ferris wheel in the world at that time. Featured in a movie called The Third Man.
Yep.
So we got a job in there for a while too. And then Fred turned up and finally took us to England.
Wow.
That's how we got to England. 63, right before Beatles started, Rolling Stones started, Jerry and the Pacemakers, Hollies, every one of them started that year in 63. So it wasn't a bad year to arrive in England.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And can you give us an insight into what the vibe was like about rock and roll?
Oh, it was incredible. Incredible vibe. London was the vibe.
Yes.
That was it. Because Carnaby Street was the biggest thing you'd ever heard of fashion-wise.
Yep.
And every weekend, I guarantee, plane loads of Americans had come in, young kids, just to go to Carnaby Street.
Wow.
And then start to just watch the music and all this. and more as the music got into the recording,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of little things on my lap here. Some you'd remember
I know what they
cassettes
are.
and this old audio tape sort of stuff. All that ProCopy where we are now. Mark Whitehouse will transform all of these things into modern day discs.
I know.
So if anyone out there needs a...
I've spoke about all my bucket loads of everything, films, sound, everything, to put them into something normal.
Yep.
Because I got to do a good one for my funeral.
Yes.
You've got to have one of those things, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get a modern one done.
Oh, cool.
That's 20 years' time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, okay, what did you do in England and how long did you stay
Well, we
there?
arrived there. Freddie had his Mercedes. He dropped us off in England. He wasn't going to stay. There's Tony on guitar singing, me on drums. We had no equipment. We went straight down to Shaftesbury Avenue to buy some.
Yep.
And there was a song just come out called Love Me Do. You know that one?
Love me do.
Yeah, well, that was just out. It was just, that was it, that sort of week or two.
Wow, 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 wow.
They had
wow.
their photo in the New Musical Express and some other music papers. It was all over the place. This is the big thing, the Beatles, you know. And when we got to Shaftesbury Avenue to the music shops, one of them was standing outside the shop like he was waiting for someone, and it was John Lennon, and never can forget it. He had the world's best brown suit, lime green shirt, and a tie to match the suit.
Wow.
And
Did you actually meet him and talk to
yeah,
him?
well, as we were walking into the shop, because we were looking at the instruments, and I said, "That's a good song, mate," you know. And he "Where are you guys from?" You know, he called us. "Come here, come here." I said, "Australia." "Oh, come and talk to us," you know. He said, "I want to ask you, what's Australia like?" I said, "Well, good." He said, "You musos?" We said, "Yeah, we're coming to buy some gear." He said, "We've just been booked for Australia." He said, "We can't believe it. Some idiot's paying us big money to go to Australia." I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was £10,000
Wow.
for, I think it was a 1 week tour or whatever day tour it was, so many shows.
That idiot made it.
Unbelievable he made. Because he, being an Aussie, he wasn't an idiot. He'd signed them for £10,000, which was huge money then,
Yes,
right?
of course.
But he'd signed it for 12 months ahead. So the contract was for 12 months' time.
And they had to honour that.
They were worth $10,000 a minute by
Yes.
then. You know?
Unbelievable.
I always said, if ever I meet Ringo, I'm going to say, "Did you not come to Australia because you said, stuff that, not going out there for two bob, or were you really sick?" It'd be a good question to ask him.
So you bought Ringo's drum kit?
Yeah, because John said, "We've traded our stuff in. Ringo's got his new kit." And he said, "What do you want?" I said, "Drums and a guitar."
This was at that shop
At the shop.
time. Yep.
He said, "Well, I've just been in," because he'd been doing some of the deal or something. He said, "I'm here to get, you'll be able to work the day out." He said, "I'm here to get picked up by our manager." He said, "This is the first time in my life I'm going in a helicopter." He said, "All the boys are up one of the Midland towns." And he said, "They're flying me up. We're on our first TV show tonight." As one of those, I'll give it 5, or one of those competition things where they play records and the musos vote on it and that. So that was going to be their first TV show.
Wow.
So, and then he did turn up, the Brian Epstein, in a cab, and opened the door and called him over, and they went off.
Wow.
But he'd told us in the meantime what they got as a trade-in, so we could go into the shop. I said, "I'll give you this much." I mean, we got them pretty cheap.
So you bought Ringo's kit?
Yeah, but it wasn't buying. Everyone says, why didn't you keep it?" I said, "I didn't mean that Ringo's kit. I didn't even know who the drummer was. I just met the guy out the front, the singer.
Sure.
You know, they'd have one song out. Millions of bands have had one song out. Memorabilia didn't work then.
I remember my mum taking me on a double-decker bus, and I was about 63, 64
Yeah.
to buy Beatles singles, and
Yeah.
I remember that vividly. And
Yeah. Yeah, it was. He was a very nice fella, just a normal, nice guy, you know. And we got the gear. We worked in England right up until Christmas. We got a job 5 nights a week at a place called the Zambezi Club in Earls Court, and only two of us, so we grabbed a guitarist who'd been in Perth previously, a guy called Baron Andre de Muller.
Oh.
Really, really brilliant muso,
Yeah.
ahead of his time. He was a white Russian, and he'd had to run off when the commos came and all that, so they came to Australia. And then he was going back to live in London, so we knew his number in London. We got hold of him, and so there was the three of us, and we played there. And then towards Christmas, we decided to come back via South Africa back to Perth.
So you worked in South Africa as well then?
Yeah, we did 3 months there on the way back.
Oh.
And then we got back to Perth. We went to the High Five, and Terry said, "You guys have been still travelling." He said, I've had enough of Perth. I want to go back to Sydney. So we said, all right, well, the two of us and Terry went back to Sydney, and that's where we became the Times.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just getting back to the drum kit,
Yeah.
you know, that kid's in Australia somewhere now?
That kid is 1,000,000% in Australia, I would say, because I used it the year in Sydney, I used it a year back here, then I traded it in, like Ringo, on a Ludwig. And I know exactly where I traded it in.
Where was that?
Perth Music School.
Right.
Like there's His Majesty's Theatre here, and they were just across on an angle, next to Pellegrini's religious shop. Yeah, Perth Music School. Some people from Adelaide come over, Jim someone, a lot of the guys that know him. He started that Perth Music School. I traded them in with him, so obviously someone bought them from Perth Music School.
And John Reynolds, I know, is a music store in Adelaide. He's a vivid drummer and goes back a long way. Maybe it's in Adelaide somewhere now. Maybe it got.
Well, it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It was just a Premier drum kit, you know. There was no Ringo Starr written on it. I took that off as soon as I bought it, you know.
Would you like to know where it is now, or can we?
I would very much like to know where it is now.
If anyone knows where that drum kit is,
it's
please,
a brown wood grain Premier.
Yeah. Please get in touch with us and
No, I mean, if they were serious, I can't advertise, bring me my Ringo's drum kit back.
Yes.
Let's say, you know, that's right.
Yeah.
But if they did want to bring it back, I would work out a deal, because I can prove how it is. There's a few different things about it where I can prove it. I've been in touch with the curator for Ringo's drum kits. There is a curator in America. I've spoke to him many times. He said, Jim, if ever you find it, do this, this and this, and we'll tell you straight away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to find it, because I'd do a deal where there was something in it, but the guy got something, but we could put it up to telethon for an auction, I reckon, to make an incredible auction.
Fantastic.
Thing, you know?
Segue, you're leading me into this here. We have a guitar here that we're going to auction off on telethon. We're going to get as much as we possibly can. I reckon if you stick your name on it, we'll probably double the price. Would you sign that for us, Jim?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Would you like a white pen on the side or a black pen on the
White
top?
up the side will do.
There you go, mate.
Who am I next to?
Thank you very much. Someone famous there, I'm sure. Hopefully it'll go from 5,000 to 10,000 in a shot.
Well, if we can put it with Ringo's drums, it will.
Well, I reckon if we put it with Ringo's drums, we might get 50 grand.
Oh, just to let all the good rock and roll friends out there know, that was Ringo's first kit to the Beatles. So a lot of that early stuff was played there. Then they got the Ludwig. The first Ludwig kit he had sold at an auction in New Jersey about, it'll come up in Google's or whatever, only about 12 months ago, probably maximum, right? For something like 2.5 million US.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that whoever's got that kit in Australia would be worth a fair amount of money.
Yeah, I'd say the one in Australia, being the original, would be worth something. But the guy who bought that at the auction, I think he owns one of the really big basketball teams in America, or football teams or something. He's one of the, you can Google it, you know, auction Ringo's drums, you'll find it.
2.5 mils, not much to him probably.
Nothing to him, no. He's got other stuff, not just that. He's a real memorabilia collector.
So, like, you've played with some real stars, like big stars.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Bee Gees. And
well, when Terry Tony and myself went to Sydney, became the Times.
Yep.
We, through Terry's connections, we got a job at a Sylvania hotel, which was 5 nights a week and Saturday afternoon. And they used to have floor show artists every Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Right? So they come on and do a half-hour spot. No rehearsal, nothing. It was a nightmare for us because they just turn up, you know. We want to do this, you know that, you know that. But the one who drove me nuts was that one who, I've been everywhere, man, trying to play that thing. You know. But one of the big ones was the Bee Gees, and I'll never forget their gig at the hotel, because don't forget, we're talking before you were born, as we said, or years ago.
Oh, I think I was born, but I was pretty young.
Pretty young. Well,
Not that young.
The Bee Gees at the time, they one of them played the guitar.
Yep.
Sometimes the piano, if there was one there. But they used to get the drummer and the bass player, whoever was there, to play with them. Well, we didn't have a bass player. It was Tony and Terry with 2 guitars and a drummer. So Terry would play the guitar with them. I'd play the drums.
So there's a lot of gigs then where there was no bass player.
We did our whole life with no bass player.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we play. And why I remember the Bee Gees, they had white shirts and ties, and at the end of the show, they pulled something in their string and their ties were waving goodbye like this to the audience. Real vaudeville stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That came from their father.
Yeah.
Because he'd been a vaudeville showman.
Right.
But then within that year, they got a bit more rocky. They had Spicks and Specks coming out, you know that one.
Great song.
So we played at a rock concert at the Sydney Town Hall with them, had to back them again. And we played at the opening of the Miranda Fair, a big shopping centre with them. So they asked us to back them again. So we got to know them pretty well.
Would you say Barry Gibb was probably the alpha male of all time, or?
Pretty good looking guy, yeah. He did tell me 2 or 3 or 4 years later that there was a good thing about being a rock star. I said, what, Barry? I said, obviously you got more money. He said, yeah, you've got that much, I don't know where it is. That was years ago, before all these other albums that he's had.
Before disco and...
Oh, yeah. He said, look, we just ask Dad and we get it, whatever we want. And I said, he said, otherwise the same, rehearse, gig, do this. And then Barry said, the only thing that's different, Jim, when we went up the charts, the birds got better looking and better looking. So that sort of gave us a bit of enthusiasm to want to try and keep going.
Yeah.
We're all single then.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't go up the charts, but the girl still got better looking for me. But anyway. So you worked with Johnny O'Keefe.
Yeah, all those guys came through doing
Digby Richards,
shows.
Robbie
Lonnie
G.
Lee.
Wow.
Yeah, Robbie G with his steel thing. They were all good. They're Brian Davies, he was a nice guy, and he had a good girlfriend who was a singer. I think she's that actress now. Who's that actress who won a medal over in Hollywood? They're an older lady now.
I couldn't tell you.
Australian actress. What was her name?
I couldn't tell you.
She'd been a singer. Yeah.
Yep. Can you? Yeah, and you had something to do with Rolf Harris as well.
Yeah. Well,
do you have a story around that?
After I finished, when we finally came back to Perth as the Times, just the 3 of us, we did really, really well. We had records and concerts and shows, and we were on with the Dave Clark 5 and Cilla Black. We did all those concerts that came through.
Drummer, guitar player, singer?
No, drummer, 2 guitars, lead, rhythm and drums.
Wow.
Capitol Theatre.
Yeah.
You could hear us, don't worry.
Nice, big
we're
bass
pretty
drum.
Loud, yeah. And so we did a real good period. Then Terry finally wanted to go back to the East. He joined a group in Melbourne called The Strangers.
Yeah.
They had a couple of good hits. And we got Reg Carson then to come with us, who's a brilliant singer as well.
Yes.
Reg Carson. And we went over to England quickly for 6 months. And we picked up a organ player while we were there, Ian Davies.
Wow.
And a guitar player, Barry Weeks. They came back to Australia. They're all still living here.
Wow.
So then we went on as that group for a while as the Times. Then I'd been doing it for nearly 20 years or more, and I thought, that's enough. I want to do something else. So I went looking at being in an agency, booking bands and doing things. And that only lasted a little while because Victor Kailis, who ran the agency, he had to go back into the Kailis fish business, big family business.
That's funny, the octopus was saying something about that.
Yeah.
Octopus, fish.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I didn't want to carry on just running, booking bands and things like that, so I went back to England where we had a lot of friends, and I got one of the London management company to put on an audition. We auditioned 3 bands, Mud, Paper Lace and Chalice, and Mud and Paper Lace straight away had some hit records, Tiger Feet and Billy Don't Be a Hero, whatever. Yeah. So I brought Chalice back to Australia for a 3-month tour, ended up working with them for 3 years, just the group and me.
They come. A few people have mentioned Chalice as their favourite bands and stuff. And
we did quite a lot of recording, and
I knew George Heathcote. I worked with him. And Les Brazil.
George is gone, but the other boys are still here.
Yes.
I think Les Brazil, high voice bass player. I think he runs Billy Hyde Drum Clinic in Melbourne.
In Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah, Neil Scott, guitarist, has got a group in Melbourne doing well. You know? So
Still,
that 3-month trip turned into 30 years.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, so that's the Chalice section. Then.
So you were responsible for bringing them to Australia, and they all live here.
They all live here, and they've all stayed here, and plus the organ player and the guitarist who we bought with the Times. So we have imported a few people.
Yeah, you've affected many lives.
Yeah, and they've all stayed, and nice. In a nice way, a lot of them have mentioned that at different times, you know. We wouldn't have been here if you hadn't bought us and all that. And they've all had a good life here.
That's great, yeah.
So that was good. And in that agency sort of thing, Band Booking Centre, BBC, they brought a lot of shows in. And because I had Chalice.
Was Beth doing BBC
Beth
then?
was definitely there then. And she was real organised, good. And John Thornton, Stan Bird.
Yes.
And they'd bring in, like Sherbert had come over and work with Chalice on the concert. And Roger Davies with Sherbert, he'd say, Jim, I'm not going to the bush. You look after my boys and yours when you go Geraldton, Kalgoorlie, Bunbury. He was back to Sydney.
Yeah.
So I got to know them, and because we toured okay, the BBC people got me to tour Kamal, Rolf Harris, Slim Dusty.
Kamal, you just did it for me because my producer's brother Gary, he'll probably watch this episode, and when someone tells me I mentioned his name, but absolute Kamal fan, like you would not believe.
So was 100,000 other people around the country.
Loves Kamal.
I mean, we got full houses everywhere we went. Really did. You know, he's a great guy.
Yes.
These just most good acts and good people I've found, like from John Lennon to any of them, they're just normal good people.
Nice people.
The ones that are smart asses are usually not real good.
Yeah.
You know, I've found that a lot. You know, like Roy Orbison, I showed you that photo of me and him together. I drove him out to Perth Airport after his concert. Just really lovely, nice guy. Oh, the voice was too good.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah, too good a voice.
I still listen to it now at home.
Yeah, he was unreal.
And Slim Dusty and
Slim Dusty, toured with him. He had his daughter with him, Kirkpatrick, I think her name is, or something. And just great tours, good people, you know.
Yeah. So, okay, in 1977, you started something in Perth, which is Iconic.
Yeah, I've got to go which way the brain goes. Hang on. First, the reason Chalice wanted to go and live in the East, and I said, I want to stay here because friends of mine had just started Beethovens.
Yep.
They wanted me to manage Beethovens Nite Club, which I did. After Beethovens, we started a place called Fast Eddy's, which was a hamburger and all those things.
First on the corner of Hay Street and Milligan Street, the original.
Opposite the old Melbourne.
Yes.
First 24-hour cafe, and that all come about by accident. People said, oh, you guys are smart thinking of this. I thought, no, we weren't. We had no money because all we did, we just went and bought old rubbish and hung it on the walls. But it ended up looking all right.
That's great.
You know? Yeah. And the reason we did hamburgers and that, because I'd just spent 6 months in New York racing horses, because I'm a bit of a lunatic for horses. So I was racing and selling horses in New York. And when I got back, the partners from Beethovens, they said, we want to have a all-night pizza place, and that, because pizza was the big thing around there. I said, well, why do I want pizza? There's 2 more in Murray Street. I said, I've been in America. They got all these diners and hamburgers, and that's what we decided to go along that line, only by accident again.
It's still going now.
Yeah, and we said, well, the nightclubs finish at 4 in the morning. And we said, well, we've got eggs and that with the hamburgers. We may as well do breakfast. Well, breakfast will start at 6. We may as well stay open. So it was not a planned, we're going to have a 24-hour place. It was just the way it happened.
So who were the owners of Beethovens? Just going back a little bit there.
In that day, when I first started, was Barbagallo, the car man.
Yeah.
John Martin, also a car man. Chris and Con Somas, 2 Greek fellas. Con's unfortunately gone. Chris has got a olive oil place down in Margaret River. And Tony Barlow, you heard of him with the clothes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Barbagallo didn't stay long, but the 2 Greeks and Tony did, and John Martin did. And John Martin later on bought horses with us that we took to America to race.
I reckon the olive farmer down Margaret River would probably need solar on his roof. You might have to give me his number later.
That's it, Chris.
He'll be going through a lot of electricity.
He can afford a lot of solar panels, I can tell you. Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the horse racing? Because I know you've got a great sire. And
we've got now, just between sort of that period and up till now, what I've been doing, selling fish. Because I knew Victor Kailis, of course, and after I'd finished we'd sold our share in Fast Eddies. After 3 years, I was sick of cooking hamburgers, and Victor said, "Why don't you come and sell fish?" I said, "I can't sell fish." He said, "Well, you sell. It's like
you don't
selling
need
anything.
to sell it.
Come, yeah." So I went with him and worked with him, and I've been in fish ever since.
Wow.
That was about 1979, 80.
You're still working?
Still in the fish business.
Wow.
Yeah, we import stuff now, the people I'm with, like soft shell crab and squid and things like that. And we do local fish out of Port Lincoln, all the sardines and stuff like that. Yeah. And my hobby, which I love, is the horses. That's what keeps me working. You know, you have to work to feed the horses.
Yes,
so
they're very expensive.
Very expensive.
I know my daughter had one from a very young age and nearly broke the bank.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, but it's like anything. It's the guy who trains them for us. We've been together for over 40 years.
What's his name?
Joe Miller.
Yep.
He was the one in New York with me racing the horses.
Yep.
Joe, and we're still together. And he got a new horse he bought only a couple of months ago off Bob Peters, who's one of the big owners in Perth.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Joe put it in its first race last Saturday. It ran 5th, but a really, really good 5th, and leading up to the Coolgardie Cup next Sunday.
Next Sunday. Yeah. So I know they're all going to Kalgoorlie next week for the Kalgoorlie Cup. Yeah. What's the name of that horse that ran?
Dark Alert.
Dark Alert.
Yeah, he's more suited to running over that long distance.
Yeah.
This was only 1,300 last Saturday, but he really started to wind up, and he was longer distance. He's better.
My daughter's an equine vet nurse at Davies. Sorry to.
She's a vet nurse.
Yeah, and equine, and I've met a few horse trainers and helped them out with their electricity bills. Dave Harrison or Clive Atwell, who's a breeder.
Your daughter might help us with our vet bills.
Yes, mate. Just give me the number to call, and I'll talk to you about that after. But yeah, that's great because horses. I've always been.
I love them because the 2 we've got ready to race. The first trial's next Monday, the 4th. And the other one's 2 weeks after that.
So they're 2-year-olds, obviously?
No, they're the one next Monday's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And the one after that's a 3-year-old. And we not that wrapped in pushing them early as 2-year-olds because their legs aren't formed, and you know, so we don't mind them being a bit older. But we do own the stallion, which is the father of these 2. It's the father of another one we've got. and we got 3 mares pregnant, ready to
Right.
drop in the next few weeks.
What's the name of that stallion?
Laguna de Bay,
Yep.
and his father is High Chaparral.
Who's one of the greatest
One of the best sires
of all time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
You've music,
music, horses,
hamburgers, fish.
fish.
Wow,
Yeah.
an interesting life you've had.
Yeah. Oh, it was, because with the fish, I often say to Victor, you got me into a great thing that I love because of the travelling. I spent nearly 12 years living in Burma.
Yeah.
We had a house there, office there, servants there. It's a good place to live. And I went for 5 years in and out of the DPRK, which I don't think many other Australian people have been to. The DPRK, of course, is North Korea. Not when the lunatics there. His grandfather was alive when I was there.
Yeah.
The great leader, Kim Il-sung.
Yeah.
So we're up there with seafood. And North Korea was a very interesting place to go to.
Yeah, I don't know whether I want to go there, Jim.
Ah, it was good, but the most brainwashed people on earth.
Yes, for
On
sure.
earth.
Yes.
They used to always say to me, Jim, we know we're the best country. You've got to stop trying to tell us that you're better than us. Because I'd bring the books, the back of an aeroplane,
Yes.
those books that show you Rolexes and all. I'd
Yeah.
say, everyone in Australia's got a Rolex like this.
Yes.
Everyone in Australia's got a Mercedes like this. They say, we know your boss in the country tells you to do that. You can't trick us. We know we're good. I mean, they seriously think they're...
Propaganda.
Oh, you can't believe it.
Yeah.
They're a worry.
Let's hope they don't do what they say they're going to do. Huh?
I don't think he can. I mean, a lot of people don't realise things, but like, there's Pyongyang, capital of North Korea, say where Perth is, and Seoul's sort of like Bunbury.
Yes.
Like, it's just down the road.
Yeah.
He knows no one's going to blow him up because they'd wipe Seoul out as well. That's why he calls the bluff all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how they... I don't want to talk politics because there's probably a million different opinions, but it's amazing how they've talked for 30 years, and as they're talking, they're building up their arsenal, and I understand why they keep talking. So,
he is a worry because he's a lunatic.
Yeah. So getting back to the music, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Who was someone that you didn't work with who you would have liked to have worked with?
Oh, the groups that I would have liked to have seen up close and watched them work was the Hollies. Was one of the best ones I liked.
Yeah, I think my mum's favourite song was All I Need Is the Air That I Breathe and to Love You.
Yeah. They were too good, the Hollies. They were just real good. I liked them. We worked with Herman's Hermits, Dave Clark 5. They were, the Seekers. We did concerts with all of them.
Wow.
And they're all same.
Massive.
All nice people, all good people.
Yeah. Okay, so who's your favourite band of all time, Jim?
I mean, like one of the other guys was saying to you, that it's different times and that, but I really liked the Hollies, that harmony sort of stuff, which was like Chalice became, that harmony sort of, that's my style of band. And then I love Fleetwood Mac, and so many different bands that you like,
Who would the best Perth band you saw live be?
That's a good one for Perth because they were all differently good.
Yeah.
Doing some real brilliant jobs, showman-wise, and that sometimes was the Troubadours. They were a full-on show band at different times, different stages, When guys like Peter Anderson would be really firing, They were good. They're all good, Ross Mitchell with the Statesman.
Great friend, Ross.
He'd do MacArthur's Park, and I say unreal,
He's a fantastic guy too.
A real good guy,
And like without putting words in your mouth, I think there was real entertainment.
Oh, it was entertainment.
As doesn't matter if you made mistakes or...
About an hour and a half ago when I started, so you can't stop me, I told you.
No, keep going, mate. This is great.
But in Perth we had to. See, with the fish business, I've spent a lot of time in Los Angeles, in Orange County, because the head office I work for, one of the companies there, that's their head office, and they got a hotel in Huntington Beach, which is Orange County.
Love Orange County.
Well, I always stay there, and I'll be 2 months, 1 month, 2 months. Like, I'm talking over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so I saw some great bands over there. But a lot of the bands I see, and I'd speak to them and that, they were so lucky compared to us in some ways, because they'd work one night in Pasadena, one night there, one night in San Diego. There was millions of people in that little circle. Whereas when we used to think about it, 10, 15 years later, North Perth, Top Hat, Pinocchio's, just the same audiences. You had to entertain the same people, not day after day. I'm talking week after week, year after year.
500,000 or 600,000 people then.
Yeah, probably less when we started.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Where they had millions and millions.
They had millions. Yeah, so they'd have a different crowd. We had to work to the same people, and
so you had to come up with new ideas all the time.
You had to do everything. Like a Sunday night, we'd play at Greek weddings. You had to learn all the Greek songs.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to play at a ball or a cabaret.
Yeah.
Or New Year's Eve, we did one for Dallas Dempster, who's a well-known fellow. I think he built the casino at his farm down the country. And I remember the gig was from 8 o'clock till about 2 in the morning.
Wow.
That's 6 hours non-stop playing.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of bands that do stage stuff, they couldn't do that because they get their dozen records and they do that. They're 1 hour. And
we could. We book 8 till 12, and then they'd say, "Can you play till 2?" And we'd
That's
go,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And more money. Of course.
Yes. And then we'd play. We'd find songs to play.
You do, yeah. But you had to in Perth.
Yes.
So it sort of forced you to be so much variety. And so some of the bands, as I said, Troubadour's brilliant, Mark IV, Statesman.
Yeah.
The best band, if you ever say the best rock band I saw in Perth as a Perth band, although they're only a Perth band for a few months, was Ray Hoff and the Offbeats.
Okay. Yeah.
They were super rocky for our era.
I wish I could have seen them.
Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Favourite TV show growing up?
Bonanza.
Michael Landon.
Yes. Yeah.
And Hoss.
Yeah. I think I mentioned earlier, I met Michael Landon.
Yep.
Through horses, because in Los Angeles one time we took some horses there on the way to New York, and one of the guys we met through food as well, because I was thinking of fish and that at the time. He owned a place called Petite Caterers, which was caravans for all the film sets.
All right. Yeah.
And he said, "I got a couple in at the track tonight, Hollywood Park in Los Angeles. Do you want to come?" I was with my brother John. We said, yeah, sure. He said, "I got a box there. We'll go to the box." He said, "My partner will be there." We said, "Okay." And so we went to his box and we were there. And then his partner walks in and it's Michael Landon, Little Joe. And he's got his new wife. He had a new wife then. And she had this big basket full of food. So we were in the box all night eating and drinking and talking. Yeah.
Wow.
It was. I mean, I thought it was
That
fabulous.
was your favourite show before?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you were
yeah.
Michael Landon.
Yeah. My brother was younger than me, and his eyes were falling. He said, "That's Michael Landon." I said, "Yeah." It was good. It's just fun things you remember.
It's funny because you meet John Lennon and you don't, and it's like, he's an ordinary guy.
Yeah.
If you had met John Lennon maybe 5 or 6 years later, you would have
gone, Michael Landon was more a star than John Lennon.
That's right.
When I met Michael Landon, this is a star, I'm with a star here. But John was just a guy with one record.
Yeah, standing outside of a music shop. And,
yeah,
it's funny,
it's
isn't
just
it?
the way things happen.
Yeah. Okay, what does the future hold for you, Jim?
I'm going to win a Group 1 race. That'll be nice.
Can you let me know which race and when it is?
I'll ring you.
Yes, thank you. I'll give you my number in a minute.
No, if we can just keep our horses just coming along, breeding them, and see the horses we're breeding from the High Chaparral bloodline, at the sales it might cost you 100 or 200 grand.
Yes.
We couldn't buy them, but we're breeding them, and the 3 mares we've got were given to us. Wow. And they're all real good. They're good mares.
Whereabouts are you breeding them?
Down in Harvey.
Yep.
Yeah, and you think, why would people give mares away? Because no one wants to breed, which is also not bad for us in the future. There'll be less horses to buy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a great industry to be in.
Oh,
it's very exciting. So, do you collect anything, Jim?
Yeah, bills from the feed merchant. That's about all, yeah.
There'd be lots of those, wouldn't there, eh?
And vets, so you better
Yes.
get your daughter to give us a good price.
Yeah, look, Bell Divers Vet, give him a plug.
Mm.
You know, Rob Davies, great guy. And he puts
Well, it's not that far down to Harvey.
No, he puts solar on his roof. We actually close to Harvey. I live in South Yandara.
Oh, right.
There, so Harvey's not far.
Well, you come and see the stud one day.
I'd love to.
Yeah, great.
So do you live in Perth or you?
In Perth, yeah.
You go down there and check it out.
Always. Well, we've got 3 ready to foal.
Yeah.
So as soon as the foal's born, I'll be straight down there. Yeah,
cool. Tell me when. I'll come with you.
Yeah.
So, Jim, what would you put on your gravestone?
Nothing left to do.
Nothing left to do?
Yeah.
Great. I was going to say, have you got any unfulfilled ambitions?
Nah.
But you just answered that.
I'm pretty happy.
Me.
Yeah.
So is there anybody that you would recommend to come on this show?
I mentioned one when we were talking about the troubadours. I think definitely Peter Anderson.
Yeah.
You definitely should get Peter. He's
a performer and
he's a performer. He's a bright, fabulous guy, and he's been in it a long time.
Yes.
I can remember first seeing him play some country show. We were in the country, and he got up to do a little spot, and I thought, this guy's good, and that was it.
He's a huge entertainer.
Yeah. Johnny Young.
Yeah.
Would you get him on?
I'd love to get Johnny Young on.
Yeah,
and he's in Perth now, I think.
Yeah, I talk to him now and then. The radio guys will know him, and he's very, very, very warm to helping and talking, and,
We're
I'm
doing
sure.
the Karen Carpenter thing with a friend of mine at the moment.
Oh, that's right. I've heard that, yeah.
So.
I'm sure if you contacted him, he would definitely come on. I'd say Johnny and Peter Anderson.
Yep.
There's a couple of good people.
I'll let my producer know that, and he can chase them up. He's on the phone right now as we speak. There he goes.
Yeah.
So is there something we don't know about you that you might want to share with us, something that nobody really knows?
I think most people know. I've had 3 wives.
Was that expensive?
Problem. Yeah. Well, why do you think I'm still working?
Horses, 3 wives?
Horses and 3 wives. I'm 74 and working every day. Why do you think?
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many children do you have?
I've got a fabulous son, Ben.
Yep.
He was a really, really good drummer.
Yep.
Real good. He was with a group called Jube.
Yep.
And they toured on Big Day Out around Australia.
Yep.
And real good drummer. And he'd say, I wished I was like you. And I'd think, shit, he's better than I ever was. He's real good. And then one day he went over to guitar. And now he plays guitar and that.
Wow.
But I do say to him and his friends, he's got a couple of good muso mates, I said, I really, really feel sorry for them, in this era in Perth.
Yeah.
Like we used to work a hotel nightclub in the same night, 2 shows a night.
Yeah. And
those places aren't around now.
no, it's 7 different girls a week, minimum. But same. I was talking on the way here in the car, and that's one question I normally ask, but I'm not even going to ask you. On the way here in the car, we were listening to some Jeff Beck music, but we were just talking about, when we played in the pubs in the 80s, and we've been doing these pub legends things, which I can probably give a bit of a plug to for market ProCopy, and all proceeds go to a friend of ours called Pecco, but they're $20. But I mean, we were played at 1,200 people 3 nights a week.
Always.
And it was just the kids of today. We were just talking about kids and what have they got to go and what have they got to see
I
today.
know. Well, it is very different, because one of the pubs I played at right from when I was 14 years old was the Raffles.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to. Me and Tony would be on stage, straight out, and the cops would be looking at us. But we'd be there, and it could be up to 1,000 people there, all down the big lounge, all along the front, looking at the water. For years, that was a big, big place there.
Yeah.
And I remember when we had that agency business, we put the mixtures on there one day when they come back from England.
Yeah.
And it was incredible crowds.
Yeah.
You go to the Raffles now,
Yeah.
they've got a bit of a DJ sound, a few people sitting around.
Is it duo or, I mean, that's what we all
No, they don't even have that. They just have a
got
DJ.
a DJ.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's, to me, what absolute waste. It's a fantastic, and they, they're just, I don't know, it stuns me. But I know hotels have changed because of all the drink driving and all that. You can't have big crowds at a hotel, and
yeah. Well, you wouldn't get them, and they would be all on their phones.
Yeah, on their
Not
phones.
even watching the stage, they're all on their
Drinking at
phones.
home or
Yeah.
whatever else stupid stuff they do. So that's what I say. I'm genuinely sorry for my son and his other good muso mates who'll never have the chance we had to cover that many people every week. You know?
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Look, Jim, really nice to have you here and listen to your stories. Really intrigued me.
No, I've enjoyed it, and it just brings back memories from selling fish. It's a bit different. Get back to the old rock memories. Yeah.
I'm not the greatest fish fan. Don't mind the prawns and the oysters.
Oh, soft shell crabs you want to try. We've got them going pretty well.
Yeah. Look, I just want to tell our viewers to please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it'd be much appreciated. And I think we're going to go out with maybe, and Storny's going to hate this, but he hates me saying what we're going to do. Suspicious Minds, Thursday night, the way we were at Pinocchio's.
That's right. Yeah, that was at Pinocchio's, a fabulous night. That was a Troubadours, Mark IV, Statesman and us. And we got together because we actually hadn't been playing together for a couple of years. We got together for rehearsal.
It was a reunion, wasn't it?
Reunion night, and it was a fabulous night. It was a good night. Yeah.
Look, really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your stories with us. Really appreciate it, Jim.
Good on you, Gary.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Good.
Look, one of the legends of Perth music, Mr. Jim Sheridan, and thank you for joining us again. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
It was by the late, great Elvis Presley, and of course, the only guy in Perth and Australia, as far as I'm concerned, guy I've got a lot of respect for, that I've worked with, Mr. Tony Tyler, is going to do a thing by Elvis Presley, ladies and gentlemen.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. Well, why can't you see what you're doing to me when you don't believe a word I'm saying? We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can't build our dreams on suspicious minds. So with that old friend I know, I try to say hello. Would I still see suspicion in your eyes? Here we go again, asking where I've been. You can't see the tears of real I'm crying. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can't build our dreams on suspicious minds. Oh, let us tonight. Oh, dry the tears from your eyes. It's no matter the thing down, 'cause honey, you know that I'll never lie to you. Oh, no. Yeah, yeah. We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love too much, baby. Yeah, well, why can't you see what you're doing to me when you don't believe a word I'm saying? Yeah, we're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love too much, baby. Yeah, we're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love too much, baby. Yeah, we're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love too much, baby.
Thank you.